Welcome to Across the Goal Line, a sports podcast brought to you by diehard fans. And today, we bring you the following. We got NASCAR from this weekend as one driver booked his spot in the Final Four and a chance to win the chase. We continue our World Series discussion as we move into Game 7 tonight in Cleveland. We'll give you the results and our thoughts about WWE Hell in a Cell that was on Sunday. And to cap it off today, we'll take a look back at the previous week for both college football and the NFL, as well as making our picks for the upcoming week for both too. So how about we get things started with some NASCAR, and for that, throw it over to Luke.
Yeah, NASCAR last weekend was at Martinsville. Jimmy Johnson won his 79th career race, and his fourth of the year, too, by the way. And his ninth overall victory at the paperclip, bringing his total grandfather clocks to 9 as well. Because that's what you get if you win a race at Martinsville. So with the win, Johnson advanced to the Championship 4 from Homestead, Miami on November 20th. And, other than that, there's not really much to say about NASCAR this past weekend. Let's move on to the World Series.
Yep, 2 more races and before the final, before Homestead. And
2 more before Homestead, and then you got Homestead. So
World Series. So
it's gonna be exciting. I'll tell you that for NASCAR.
Yeah, game 6 last night in Cleveland, and the Cubs won to force Game 7 after being down 3-1, losing 2 games at home to the Indians. Many thought it was over at that point, myself included. But here we are. We did a question of the day yesterday rather.
Yeah, we started that.
Yeah, we started that. Posed the question, if the Indians were going to win Game 6, people said that. The people said that they thought they would. Majority did.
It was, I think it was 67% of the vote.
Yeah, it was about 2/3 of the vote said yeah, but then you said you posted another question.
I posted another one.
Or during or after the game.
After the game for today, and then we didn't get a hold of each other, and you already put up another one for today about the college football playoff, which we'll get to here in a bit. And by the way, go check out our live stream from yesterday about the college football playoff. First live stream we ever did. We thought we did pretty good on it, so let us know what you thought. Let us know what you think. What was I saying? Question of the day. And now we got like 10 votes in the first 5 minutes. And the question was, who's going to win Game 7? Who's going to bring home the title? What streak is going to end? And everybody's saying the Cubs now. So, it just shows you how many people are bandwagon fans out there, I think.
Yeah.
If you ask
Jumping
me.
on the team that has all the momentum now.
Exactly.
They won the last 2, of course, after the Game 5 at home and Game 6 there in Cleveland. So, Game 7 should be probably a pretty exciting one, the way the pitching is going to match up. The Indians look really poised to win based on their pitching alone. Because, of course, Kluber, he's looked great in Games 1 and 4. Plus, they have pretty much all their relievers all rested up, ready to go for Game 7 here.
Yeah.
Miller, Shaw, and Allen, I think it is.
Yeah, Miller didn't even pitch last night.
Yeah, he didn't.
Well, Tuesday night.
Yeah. And Shaw and Allen haven't really pitched much at all, especially because, Game 6 was a bit of a blowout. They weren't really necessarily needed for big time. But then on the other side, of course, the Cubs they pitched Chapman last night anyway.
Yeah,
in Game 6,
and
even though they were up by like 5, I think it was.
They pitched him in Game 5 as well, and
pitched him a lot in Game 5, 8 out saves.
Yeah, and then last night he was asked to do about the same, but then as you said, they went up 9-2 then in the top of the 9th after Rizzo hit a 2-run home run, and took him out. And saved him for Game 7, but which is good. Managerial skills, coaching skills, whatever you want to call them there, by Joe Madden to get his closer out of the game. But yeah,
but still, what effect will that have on Game 7 tonight if he is forced to come in? Will he be tired? Will he have that fatigue possibly? But then the other thing is maybe because he's played, he's more fresh even because he's been in. Maybe it's Miller or something because he hasn't pitched too much. He hasn't pitched the last couple of games.
Yeah.
So it's going to be who's going to kind of win that battle right there, the guy who's rested or the guy who's been keeping up with it and is still in rhythm, basically. So that's something to look out for. But, the way they're saying is like all Kluber has to do is pitch like 5 good innings and they can get their relievers in there. or 4 or 5 good innings, I think it is, which he's definitely capable of doing. He's done it already.
Yeah,
So.
and the game's in Cleveland, so I mean, it's going to be exciting. I mean, we're not going to have more on this until next week, but it's. I really want the Cubs to win. I mean, I picked them March 31st, our first episode, and I've stuck with them all season. I thought the streak was going to end in 2016, and by the way, in 1997, the last time the Indians were in the World Series, there was also 2 ties in the NFL. Well, the Indians in 2016 are also playing the World Series, and then the past 2 weeks there's been 2 ties in the NFL. So if history, is on the Cubs side there, Chicago should win tonight. And then also, what was I about ready to say? Oh, with the number 108 that I talked about last week. If the Cubs win, all that stuff's real. There's no doubt about it. But go Cubs, go! I mean, I'm picking the Cubs tonight. Who you got, Corey?
I mean, you're talking about history and stuff. I'm going to talk about recent history, like 4 or 5 months ago.
All right,
we've already seen it. Seen this narrative once before already, just a couple months ago in the NBA.
It's true.
The Cavaliers were down 3-1, needed to win 3 straight games, 2 of them on the road, and they did it. Don't you think it's a little bit of a coincidence that this could happen again?
And it involves two Cleveland sports teams.
I find that to be a little too coincidental.
Would you say that's fixed or just just how it goes?
I will say it's fixed.
I don't agree with that. I mean, I don't think baseball is fixed.
I do believe sports are fixed
because
for the most part. None more than the NBA. The NBA is fixed.
I agree with that, but baseball, I don't think baseball is fixed one bit.
It's really easy to fix baseball, though.
With a call, yes, but
not with calls, just players.
Wow,
players can throw games themselves. Look at the Black Sox. That's a while ago, of course.
Yeah,
they threw the entire game.
I know,
but still, it can happen. I mean, you're probably better at it now today, doing something like that.
You just can't.
I mean, as a pitcher, you can just be the pitcher.
Yeah.
He can just throw crap all night, or just give up home runs. Just throw them down the middle.
I see where you're coming from.
It's simple, but
it is.
It's one of these situations where the story's too good. It's too good to be true,
yeah.
And it is. It is too good to be true.
We'll see later tonight. Last night, if you listen to this, and like I said,
I just find it funny that 2 straight major sports series are going to be 3-1 down. You're going to come back and win in 7. 2 games on the road. I find that a little bit too funny.
Not now. If the Indians win, obviously,
that's the problem. They're not.
Well, what if they do though? What do you have to say about that?
They're probably not going to win because of it's fixed. Because obviously the MLB wants the Cubs to win is the thing. Probably that's how.
Because they haven't won since 1908, and I think everybody does, including myself.
They know it. No one's going to raise a brow at it because of its just historicness. The historics of it. I mean, I like to go into some of those types of things, especially in sports, somewhat. I've been getting into a little bit more. I mean, but yeah, it's MLB maybe a little bit harder, possibly, but
to fix,
yeah. But I don't think it's that hard. I mean, it's easy as paying off guys. I mean,
yeah, that's all you have to do.
We're seeing there's reports coming out in freaking tennis for crying out loud. Tennis, what can happen in a major sport?
How do you fix tennis? That's
a player just plays bad. You pay off the player. Player makes bets on himself, and so he throws the match.
Look at Pete Rose.
It's that.
He bet against other teams, but
he simply
that's somewhat different.
It's always gambling, pretty much. That it revolves around these.
What have I always said? Everything's about money.
It is. I will say that the NBA is the worst for it. There's so many instances about the NBA fixing stuff. 1985 draft lottery. Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. 2002 Western Conference Finals, the Lakers win because of the big market team over the Kings. Because the Kings are the low team that didn't have any superstars on their team. And plus the 3-peat for this.
Yes,
the Lakers.
I was about to say that.
Even some have said Derrick Rose to Chicago because Chicago had a 1% chance at the lottery. They had a 1% chance.
And he's from Chicago. By the way,
the Cavaliers getting so many number 1 picks after LeBron left.
And then LeBron comes back. By the way, the Bulls play the Knicks at home this weekend, too, this Friday night. Derrick Rose coming home, and then D. Wade played his first home game for the Bulls this last week.
Also another one.
So it should be a game.
Another one, just last one. Chris Paul, the trade to the Lakers getting negated so that the Clippers can rise and be the top team. Because then, soon after, they get Blake Griffin and stuff.
Yeah, because then if Paul goes to the Lakers, they still have Kobe. And then, Kobe retires, he's still there. Chris Paul's the face of the Lakers then, alongside Brandon Ingram and
the big thing that
Julius Randle and who's the other guy out there?
I don't know who you've gone through already.
D'Angelo Russell.
I was going to say that. I didn't know if you said him already.
No, I said Julius Randle.
The thing about the NBA, though, it all revolves around one man, though. It all revolves around one man, David Stern, but he's not in commissioner anymore.
David Stern was a better commissioner than Pencil Neck. I'd rather call him something else. What's his name? You know who I'm talking about.
What, the current?
Yeah, the current
Adam
NBA.
Silver.
Yeah, Adam Silver, current NBA commissioner.
He's a yes man that does whatever is politically correct.
I don't like him one bit. I don't like Roger Goodell either.
No.
I don't think anybody does.
I think
the NFL has turned into one of the, I don't want to go X-rated, but I might have to. We'll see. I'm trying to think of another word.
What?
Another word for this. On a,
so you're saying
what?
The NFL is...
The NFL's soft, I'll put it that way.
Soft?
Yeah. It's, in the past 10 years, it's become soft.
The NFL is becoming a lesser form of entertainment, I think.
And the ratings have been down. There's a big storyline about that.
You
look at Thursday night games. You look at Monday night games. I told you last month, look at the Thursday night games the remaining schedule, for the rest of the season. They're awful with the teams, how records are. This Thursday night,
used to happen.
The game's a little bit better. The Buccaneers, they came off a tough loss to Oakland last week. They're playing at home against Atlanta, coming off a big win against Green Bay at home. So it should be a better game, but, what you had? The Broncos and Chargers, when the Chargers were, 1-4? And then you had the Packers and the Bears. And then you had the Bears again on Monday night this past week. They pulled out the win. We'll get more in the NFL here in a bit, but going back to commissioners, something needs to change with some of these top sports.
Yes. And we'll go back to the World Series real quick to finish it up. Cubs win because I said it Monday. I said it Monday morning, about 8:30 in the morning.
What'd you say?
In the car on the way back from classes. I said, if the Cubs win Game 6, they're going to win Game 7.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, because it's fixed.
I obviously picked the Cubs, so,
And that's the only reason I said that. I don't honestly think that the Cubs should should win. I don't think they should. I don't think they're the better team.
You think the Indians are the better team?
They've looked at...
Going into the World Series, yes, I agree with you on that. And then the first 4 games, except for Game 2, obviously, that Chicago won. Yeah, but then the past, since Sunday, since Cleveland lost Game 5 in Chicago, and the Chicago fans were chanting "Go Cubs, go," which could be heard from miles away. Chicago's been the better team. But, it is what it is. We'll have to see. And we'll have more on the World Series next week.
Yeah, we'll get away from that now. Away from some of this other off-topic stuff that we went through there. WWE. So, Hell in a Cell was on Sunday. And
still haven't watched it.
I've been personally, but
it's football season, so I watch football. So, and then the Cubs Game 5 game was on, so I had to see them win their first game in Chicago for the first time since 1945. I'm a big history guy. I like, teams. Big history buff. Really like history. I like teams, I root for teams that, are trying to break streaks or, of that nature, you know what I'm trying to say. And then this year you got two teams competing, trying to break a streak. And I'm just going with Cubs just because, I picked them at the beginning of the year and then, the streak's longer. 176 years, I think, combined between the two. But we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, honestly, I've seen people saying that they quite enjoyed it. I didn't really enjoy it. I thought a lot of the finishes to these matches were kind of stupid and didn't make sense to me. But I will get into it right now. 3 Hell in a Cell matches on this card, 3 main events as they called it, and they're spaced out pretty evenly, which I kind of like because then you didn't have just an overkill of just Hell in a Cell match, Hell in a Cell match, Hell in a Cell match to finish. So we started with a Hell in a Cell match to open the show. Roman Reigns, Rusev, the first one, U.S. title match. And Roman Reigns won. Of course, we both thought that it just made sense.
Yeah.
He just won and stuff. But
now they're saying is Rusev a main event, type of guy. I don't know. What do you think?
His character, I think, works as a main event guy, a heel. He's definitely a guy that can get reactions as a heel, which is something that Kevin Owens does only when he mocks the fans or something. But otherwise, they like him. He's supposed to be a heel, but he's rather cheered a lot. So
yeah,
he only gets the boos whenever he's disrespecting the fans, which is cheap. Even Jericho's supposed to be heel. Jericho gets the biggest face pops of anybody on the show right now because he's a world class entertainer and he's good at making anything good. But this was the weakest of the 3 matches. And going in, you could definitely tell that it probably would have been on paper. Reigns, Rusev, 2 guys have a similar style clashing together that never seems to work out really well.
Yeah,
it worked in terms of hard hitting action, but it was really slow.
Yeah, 2 big, what do you want to call it? Heavyweight guys.
Heavyweight powerhouse type guys. Didn't really use the cell to its full advantage, I don't think. They did use weapons and stuff, stairs and a kendo stick and a chain. That was almost it. They didn't really do much that I would expect from Hell in a Cell. Another thing about the pay-per-view, no one bled. 3 Hell in a Cell matches, no one bleeds. I realize that's PG and stuff, but...
And especially they're trying to change the
new era
culture, new era of the WWE. Why not have any blood?
That's
surprising.
You're talking, these are supposed to be hellacious matches. Mm-hmm. It's Hell in a Cell. You'd expect a little bit more carnage, a little bit more action.
I understand you don't want anybody thrown through the cell or jumping off the cell.
You don't have to. It's just a simple, you throw them into the cage enough.
2 of the Undertaker's matches.
Throw someone into a cage enough, you'd expect them to bleed. Just in real life, even. If you look at it from, wrestling is real standpoint, which, we know it isn't, in terms of, they're not actually, doing this 100% true, but whatever. But if you throw someone enough into, a cell or something, they're going to bleed, I would expect someone to bleed in this situation. But then again, the way they've had Hell in a Cell matches lately has not been that good. They don't use the cell really that much. The most they do is just toss them into it. They don't really use anything. And I was even shocked to see a lot of weapons being used. But the thing was, each match had a theme for their weapons. Kind of. There was just 1 or 2 or 3 weapons for each match almost. And actually 2 of them had pretty much the same thing going on. But this one was stairs in a Hell in a Cell match, which I think is dumb. I think stairs as a weapon in general is not the best.
Well, they use it every week.
Yeah.
They
do. It does seem like they use them every week.
Someone gets thrown into what I'm saying, though. They're there, they can throw them into them on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, too. Someone's always getting thrown to a set of stairs.
Yeah, okay.
Every week. And that doesn't even result in a disqualification in a match if someone does that. But we're using it as a weapon.
No.
It doesn't really make sense in general. But also this match, they should have done more because this was a feud built on that they hate each other and they're going to kill each other type of thing.
Yeah.
They didn't really feel like that. It just felt like another match. It was inside of a cell.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the finish, the first of what I thought were kind of weird finishes. The finish is just Roman spears him as Rusev standing on the stairs. And that was the end. It just happened. He got out of the accolade, hit him with a Samoan drop, speared him, and it was over. And we'll see in the Kevin Owens Seth Rollins match something similar happened. Someone hit a move, and then someone put him away with something like that. There wasn't any instant counter into the finish, like exciting thing. It was just kind of they did a move and it was over.
Yeah.
None of these finishes, most of them were not that exciting. Even the main event wasn't that exciting, which was Sasha versus Charlotte. Actually, it was the last match on, so technically it does get the main event in name. But next match was Dana Brooke Bayley. I'm not going to talk about that. It was crap.
Bayley won.
The first piss break, Bayley won.
We'll say that.
Then the second piss break happened right after it. Enzo and Cass versus Gallows and Anderson. Put them right back to back each other. You had about a 10-15 minute window where you could get something to eat. You could go to the bathroom and not worry about anything going on in the ring. Cause
You mean Gallows and Anderson? Gallows and Anderson, excuse me.
Yeah, Gallows and Anderson.
Beat Buzz and Woody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever.
From Monday night.
But Gallows and Anderson got the win. They needed the win, but I felt like they were buried a little bit in the promo. Calling Anderson generic as hell. You don't... That's burying a guy.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin did it to Lance Storm, who was a fantastic in-ring worker, but he was boring. And Stone Cold called him out on it, and then it just ruined his career. You know, yes, he isn't like the flashiest guy.
No.
Sure, we know that, but you don't need to come out here and tell everybody that.
Well, just
said he's generic as Times New Roman fall.
Bring back his, well, not bring back.
This is a guy who was
insert his Machine Gun Carl Anderson
yes.
gimmick in the WWE.
Yes, this is a guy who was top of the Bullet Club.
Yes,
I mean, one of the most. I guess you could say it's over, and you could say feared almost in New Japan faction. You could say because they dominate. Everything.
And they're still together too.
Yeah, of course.
They just keep rotating.
And then of course calling Gallows the big gal.
They're like the they're like the Click, the NWO.
The Click, the NWO, yeah. And then of course calling Gallows big gal, calling a woman basically
big gal.
I mean, how am I supposed to enjoy these people as a casual fan? How am I supposed to enjoy Gallows and Anderson after that type of promo and stuff? How am I supposed to get behind them at all as serious? You know?
Yeah, I understand.
And plus, Gallows lost to freaking Enzo in a trick or street fight on Raw the next night.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, Buzz and Woody.
But those matches don't really count for anything because they're just gimmicky. Just because it's a Halloween match, they're supposed to be fun and.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got through the piss breaks, I guess. And then the next match on was the second Hell in a Cell match, Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship.
Which this should have been the spot for the Women's Championship.
For many, yes. I mean, this, just because of how historic the match was, that's why it went on last. First Women Hell in a Cell match and stuff.
Yeah, who really cares about that?
Yeah.
Not me.
But KO won, of course. He expected him to win, both of us. But no Triple H on this one, and no turn from Jericho, who did get involved as a ref got blinded by Kevin Owens accidentally. So they had to let him out of the cell to get him checked out or whatever. And Jericho comes running in, steals the key, locks himself inside. And this is what I was saying. The finish was weird because, I mean, it was a good match overall. Some good spots, some good sequences. I mean, the best spot of the night even, I guess, too, is Owens had some tables stacked up on the outside. Seth Rollins powerbombed through 2 tables. So that was the best spot of the night. But the finish is, well, first of all, Jericho's doing his shenanigans the whole time. Getting Seth not to win, of course. Pulling the ref out of the ring and stuff. But KO hits Rollins with a DDT on a chair. Proceeds to make a table basically out of 2 chairs. Then powerbombs through him. And then he wins. It just kind of... It's over, that's it. Kind of abrupt, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't an exciting finish at all. It's just DDT, powerbomb, done.
Yep.
Just 2 straight moves, and then you won. And we still have one more of those to go. There's only like one finish where I'm okay with, and I liked the entire night. And it's the next match. We're going to move on from that match. But the Cruiserweight title match, TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick. Brian Kendrick wins. And wins the Cruiserweight Championship.
Surprisingly.
It was actually my favorite match of the night. Story.
Well, those Cruiserweight matches are always fun and exciting to watch.
But the story, though, because Kendrick comes in, he's pleading with Perkins to let him win. He's desperate.
He's willing to do anything. Plan.
He's willing to do anything it takes to win.
And by the way, it's the Brian Kendrick.
Yeah. And what he did in the match kind of showed it. You know, he, even though it didn't really work out, trying to tie TJ to the ropes with his own athletic tape, kicking him while he's down and stuff, and then faking the injury to get him the win. I like, that was the one ending I kind of liked, because fake the injury. I mean, people ragging on it because how TJ Perkins is that stupid to fall for that. But, I mean, if you think about it, TJ and Brian are supposed to be friends and stuff, but now they're kind of enemies because TJ had what Brian wanted.
Yep.
But, like, Perkins still considers him a friend, you know? The guy took him to wrestling schools and stuff when he was younger, you know? So he still wants to help him, but then Brian hits him with a headbutt, puts him in the captain's hook, gets him to tap out. And retained on Raw the next night. So, he's a man with a plan after all, you know? And
he is.
He showed it. Showed it that night. He had a plan and executed perfection. Another one of my favorite matches this night, Cesaro and Sheamus taking on the New Day. I didn't think this was going to be a good match.
Yeah, I thought your buyer said it was going to be another piss break match.
No. The TJ Perkins Brian Kendrick match felt like it because the fans didn't care because they just saw Owens and Rollins, so they didn't care about it. I liked it, though. That was one of the few matches where, like, when the crowd wasn't into it, I was still kind of into it. Because normally, I've said it on the show before, like, if the crowd's not into it, I'm not into it.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like they're kind of a barometer to how exciting the match actually is. Because if you're entertaining the people there, you should be entertaining the people at home, right? But either way, the tag match, Cesaro and Sheamus win by DQ, and so they don't win the titles, of course. But it was a pretty good match. I liked some of it. Another one of stupid finishes, though, the DQ kind of. But looking back, I see that it makes kind of sense in terms of it could spark continuity between Cesaro and Sheamus because they kind of got screwed out of the titles because of Kofi Kingston hitting Trouble in Paradise on Sheamus after Sheamus was playing defense on Big E and trying to take out Kofi as well. So I'm hoping that it kind of leads to them being more serious contenders, better as a team, because they're a team, just looking at them, that should be a formidable tag team in the division. Two guys that are, well, they should just be good in general, because they're two guys that can put on good matches with anybody, pretty much, and they have. You know, two guys that put matches on with anybody. What can they do with in a tag team setting? So, and they're looking pretty good. They had a good match on Raw with the Shining Stars. I mean, it's the Shining Stars, but still, put on a good match there.
At least it wasn't jobbers.
Yeah, guys more established guys, of course, not jobbers, but yeah, glorified almost though in the Shining Stars. They don't win too many matches, obviously, but let's get to the main event because it was the store Sasha versus Charlotte in Hell in a Cell, and Charlotte wins.
Mm-hmm.
There's the first weird thing that happens. First of the weird and poor decision, or ending, rather. And I didn't like it too much. I thought some of it was stupid. I thought some of it was really sloppy. And the ending didn't really make sense to me. But it was alright. The bit at the start where they fight outside the cage. Charlotte powerbombs Sasha through the announce table as she's on the cell. Pulls her off the cell and powerbombs through. But then Sasha lays around and has to be put on a stretcher. She had to get put on a stretcher, and she had to do the man counting thing, come off the stretcher and keep the match going. I thought I did not like it. It didn't make sense. It was just a power bomb. It was just a power bomb through a table.
WWE.
She wasn't thrown off the cage or something.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a power bomb. You want these women to
look strong
and make it look like they can compete with the guys, but they can't take a power bomb through a table without being stretched off, possibly. You know, but granted, she's supposed to have back injuries and stuff. It makes sense in that sense, but then she proceeds to not really sell that injury after she gets off the stretcher anyway.
She just fights. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
She came in and just kept beating the crap out of Charlotte for a little bit, and then like the back didn't even hurt at all. And then a couple of table spots really sloppy. One of them, the ending, Sasha couldn't set up the table right. She's trying to set up in the corner, but she only put it on like the second rope, so it wasn't standing straight up and down for the most part, like it typically is. And so Charlotte's trying to throw her through a table that's like basically just standing, like regular. She's trying to throw her through it, just like tossing her onto it. It won't break. First of all, Sasha's not that heavy. She's not going to be able to break the table just falling on it pretty much. It's not set up correctly for you to be putting someone through it just by like tossing, like an Irish whip type thing. And then she shows her on it twice, table doesn't break, she hits natural selection, and then it's over. Again, kind of an abrupt ending that didn't feel like an ending. It didn't feel satisfying as an ending, especially to the pay-per-view.
Reason why I didn't really want to watch Hell in a Cell. Plus, there's football, and like I said, and then the Cubs game. Game 5 of the World Series against the Indians. So I don't even know if I'll go back and watch Hell in a Cell.
I don't know if you want to.
Just because I have the network, I can watch it anytime that I want. So it's during football season, that's why I don't watch the pay-per-views. But obviously, I know who won. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I really want to go watch this now with getting your opinion on all the matches.
Just the way it ended this match. She tries to throw it through her table
doesn't
twice.
Seem like it went that.
She tries to throw it through her
good.
table twice. It doesn't break. I feel like the finish was supposed to be she puts her through the table, then wins, possibly.
Probably.
But that doesn't work. She hits national selection and wins. It just kind of ends. That, plus it's in Boston. It's her hometown. Sasha Banks' hometown. And she doesn't win the big, historic first Hell in a Cell match for women, main event, too, on a pay-per-view. It didn't really make
Come on,
sense.
Vince. Come on,
Plus, of course, this is like the third or fourth time they've changed titles already in like 2 months. Because Sasha won on Raw before Clash of Champions, lost at Clash of Champions. Won on Raw like the next week, or the week after, or the next day, or the week after, and then dropped it here. So what the heck's going on?
Yep.
And now we got Survivor Series coming up here, which there probably won't be too many title matches because of the Survivor Series matches that I know for a fact.
That's what isn't that what I said a couple weeks ago? They do that. They put the champions.
Yeah.
And
pretty much all the champions are in
Survivor Series match,
except for Dolph Ziggler. He's not in any of them.
Oh, he's challenging someone from Raw, so we'll have to see.
That's an open challenge, so it'll be taking place on like a SmackDown probably though. Unless it's an open challenge for Survivor Series. Or did he say that? Because I wasn't exactly listening to Raw. I was only watching.
You talking about Ziggler?
Ziggler.
Last night on SmackDown.
Did he say Survivor Series? I'm opening the.
He said anybody from Raw.
Did he say Survivor Series though?
I don't think so.
Because I wasn't really listening to it.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So it all depends on that, I guess.
But that's probably where it's gonna take place at. To be honest with you, or next week.
Yeah.
Because as I said, the election is next Tuesday night, and they're gonna try to get ratings up because everybody's gonna be watching, NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN. Who's gonna be the next president of the United States?
They got a title match. They're gonna have another title match.
That's what I was saying last month. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
but Survivor Series. If I saw this, I didn't. Just in like a YouTube comment, but still, someone said that Dan O'Brien announced because Dean Ambrose is number 1 contender now.
Yes.
He'll get his title match at TLC.
Yeah,
not
I
a
saw
Survivor
that.
Series.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. So it's obvious that I think the champions that are involved are not going to have a title match. It's going to be all about the Survivor Series matches.
It's Raw versus SmackDown.
It's going to be all about that.
Yep.
But the thing is, you still need to defend some titles because you can't have just a show, just Survivor Series matches. 3 of them.
Yeah.
That's not going to take up all the time. It could, honestly, because if you make like the tag team one elimination not by teams but by people, you're talking about 10 people per team. You need to make it 9 eliminations. Like if it's just individual eliminations.
Yeah.
Then you can extend it, but
And Survivor Series is supposed to be 4 hours. So
yeah. And Goldberg, Brock Lesnar is not going to be that good.
It's going to drag.
Or long.
It's going to drag on.
That match will drag on. It won't be that good.
Well, the whole night is going to drag on.
The whole night, yeah. So they need to add some extra title matches in. So
we'll
Ziggler, as a guy that doesn't have a title, Ziggler, of course, the Cruiserweight Championship will be defended individually. Yeah. That's only like 2.
The women's for, no.
Because both the women's are in the Survivor Series matches.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the World Champion and the Universal Champion
and the tag team.
And the U.S. Champion's in Survivor Series, too.
And the tag team.
And the tag teams.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 titles that aren't featured on any of the teams. So you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have an extra match here or there for the title. One of the titles, some of the titles, whatever.
Or it's just going to be promos. Vignettes.
You can't.
Which I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, if they do, it'll be terrible if they do that. I think we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave WWE at that.
WWE.
Get more into it when we get to Survivor Series. So, we won't have anything for wrestling for quite a bit until
couple weeks
until Survivor Series comes around.
We'll have to
Opens up the
put this show on her back with football. Seems like.
Yeah,
and some NASCAR and the World Series
opens it up.
Yeah,
opens up the topics for the next couple weeks. When we get back, we're gonna talk about college football and the NFL. Looking back at the last week's, doing our picks.
Yeah.
Do you like hunting, fishing, or talking about the outdoors? If so, you need to check out Downriver Outdoors, an outdoors channel on YouTube that brings you some of the best footage of hunting and fishing from the backwoods of Central PA. They also tell some great outdoors stories. Be sure to subscribe to Downriver Outdoors on YouTube.
Welcome back, everyone, and now we're going to get into some college football for the week. Last week, some shifting going on. Some teams, 4 or 5 undefeated teams lost last week?
4 of the 6.
4 of the 6.
That'd be 2 teams in the Big 12.
Big 10 team, and it's Boise State.
Yeah, Boise State in the MAC. Not in the MAC, in the in the Mountain West.
Mountain West, yeah.
Those it'd be Boise State out of the Mountain West.
Baylor
in West Virginia, and then Nebraska losing in overtime to Wisconsin. So four of the 6. The 2 that won were Clemson and Michigan. Alabama was off. Yeah, they had a bye.
Oh, I did not.
I
just realized.
Did you forget that?
I just realized that. Basically,
just realized that. All right.
I mentioned those. I mentioned those 4 unbeatens losing because that's basically my basis for all of the review stuff we do, the upset and press stuff. Because my upset is Oklahoma State beating West Virginia.
I'd agree with that. I mean, West Virginia went into Stillwater and lost by 17. It was a close game there going into the second half.
That was my big thing. They lost by 17.
Yeah. I would have to say Wyoming over Boise State, but we both picked them.
Yeah, I would have put that if I didn't pick them.
And then if Virginia would have pulled off the one over Louisville, but Lamar Jackson went on the Cavaliers and 3 game-winning touchdown. But then Texas over Baylor as well. All right. As Matthew McConaughey says, he was actually at the game. He's a big Longhorn fan. He has sweet tickets up in the sweet section. But Texas beat Baylor by 1, and let's see if Charlie Strong gets 500. And if he does, I think he has a good chance of keeping his job. But Texas might, if Tom Herman does want to leave Houston, Texas might want to pull the trigger now and get rid of Charlie Strong, bring in a new head coach, rather than keeping Strong and then firing him midway through the year next year. And then you're screwed for the next year and a half, which doesn't make any sense. So, other than that, I don't think there's really any upsets.
Nah.
Best game, I actually thought there was a lot of them. Starting on Thursday night, Virginia Tech went to Pitt, Ohio at Toledo, Navy at South Florida, Louisville at Virginia, Baylor at Texas, Miami at Notre Dame, game we didn't pick. We didn't pick Baylor, Texas either. And then Washington at Utah, Northwestern at Ohio State, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Clemson at Florida State. 7 of those 9 we picked. The 2 we didn't pick, as I said, were Baylor, Texas, Miami at Notre Dame. So it just shows you need to tune in here at Across the Line every week in and week out to see what games we're going to pick from the best games of the weekend, and then get our insight and our pick. And just let people know that we do have the best football report week in and week out as well. How we bring best sports coverage, I think, for everything. NASCAR, baseball, basketball, football, wrestling, UFC, a little MMA in there. So let people know. Other than that, there weren't any more good games. I mean, hell, I just read off 9 of them.
Yeah.
So there actually were a lot of good games. But other than that, that was it.
Yeah. I mean, you already went over mine, obviously, because I have obviously one of those 9.
Yeah.
Wisconsin over Nebraska overtime.
Yeah.
Watched the ending of it. Pretty exciting game. Impressed this week. No one really jumps off the page for me.
Neither for me, but Penn State did put up 62 on Purdue. I mean, I do understand it's Purdue.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they would put up 62. I didn't even think they'd probably put up half of that, to be honest with you. So I thought that was real impressive.
All right. Disappointed for me, West Virginia and Baylor, both losing. Big 12 there.
Yeah, I had West Virginia. I said a couple weeks ago, I think we both did, that they were probably going to lose here soon with how tough their schedule is the rest of the year. They still got to play Baylor, Texas, and Oklahoma. So they still have a chance to get to win the Big 12. Any of those teams do. The Big 12 race is, wide open because we still got a whole month of football to play. And that's why they play games, because, you can't really, you can pick, you can predict, who's going to win this game and who's going to win that game, but, that's why they play games. It's not decided on the field. It's not decided on paper. It's decided on the field.
Yeah.
So, we'll get into this week's picks now already?
Yep.
All right. FCS, 4 games. I went 1-3 last week. You went 4-0. You passed me. I'm 22-9 on the year. You're 25-6. Penn at Princeton. Who you got?
Give me Princeton.
You're gonna take Princeton. I'm gonna take Penn. Just home state kind of thing. Villanova at Maine.
Oh man. These flip a coin.
Yeah, that's how it is for any of these FCS games because we really don't watch
I guess.
them.
I don't know Villanova.
Big Villanova. I'm also going to take Villanova just because they're from Philly, little home state. Got to represent. Samford at the Citadel.
Citadel.
You're going to take Citadel. I'm going to take Citadel as well. They're 8-0. So I think they'll go to 9-0 after this weekend. And then Youngstown State goes North Dakota State. I really want to take Bo Pelini and the Penguins, but I'm going to take North Dakota State and the Bison.
Me too.
All right. Moving on to the FBS. I went 8-4 last week. I'm 65 and 45 on the year. You're 72 and 38 on the year.
Yep, went 9-3 last week.
I believe that is. Yeah, you went 9-3. I went 8-4. We got 11 games this week, starting tonight, Thursday night, actually tomorrow night early. Pac-12, Colorado. They're ranked 15th now in the college football playoff rankings, with losses only to Michigan and USC. USC's bringing up the rear. Go watch our live stream from yesterday too. We thought we did really well on it. UCLA's 3-5. They started out pretty strong, but after that they have digressed. So I'm going to have to take the Buffs over the Bruins.
I'm also going to take Colorado.
Yes. Over UCLA.
Colorado. I could definitely see this could definitely be an upset. I think possibly
it could. Josh Rosen.
Yeah, that's the problem.
He is out for the season though now with a shoulder injury.
That is the big problem.
That's the reason why I'm going to take Colorado.
But yeah, Colorado though.
All right, Air Force at Army. Two military schools. Army's going to play Navy at the end of the year. Navy was doing pretty good there until last week. Yeah. Especially in the first half against South Florida. They were down 28 or 35 nothing at halftime. And then they only lost by 7.
Yeah.
The final score is 52-45. It was a good game last Friday night. So Navy, they'll be in the hunt for the Commander-in-Chief trophy, as will both of these teams. And I think it's going to depend on who wins this game. And then if Army beats, I'm going to pick Army, because if then Army beats Navy at the end of the year, they'll be the champs for the Commander-in-Chief trophy. So take Army over Air Force. Air Force had a close one against Fresno State on the road last week. And Fresno State's not that good. So take the Black Knights. Also, I have seen Army and Navy play before. I've never seen Air Force play. So in the triple option, it's hard to stop. I think this game's going to be low scoring. So, yeah, Army over Air Force.
Yeah, I'm going to take Army over Air Force as well in that one.
All right. Next, Big Ten matchup. You got Wisconsin going to Evanston to play Northwestern. Northwestern almost went into the horseshoe last week and beat Ohio State. They did not, though. They lost 24-20. Wisconsin's coming off that big overtime win against Nebraska at home, 23-17. Evanston is a tough place to play because it is quiet as hell there. It's not loud at all. The students, they'll get rowdy, they'll get excited and stuff to see Northwestern play, but that place is one of the quietest college football stadiums in the country. But Wisconsin is just too good. I think Wisconsin is going to win the West because they already beat Iowa, and then they have wins. They already beat Nebraska too.
Yeah.
Last week, and then they beat Michigan State out of the East. Michigan State's not that well, but I'm trying to think, do they play Minnesota yet or not? Because if they did and they beat them, they're a lock for sure, because there's really no one else in the Big Ten West to compete with the Badgers. But Wisconsin over Northwestern this weekend.
I will also take Wisconsin. It's another game that, maybe could see the college football playoff hopes be dusted away. I mean, Wisconsin doesn't have a really good shot. I mean, we already talked about that, but on the live stream. But
yeah, all right, yeah, that's
we already talked about that. The two losses to Michigan and Ohio State keep them in, of course, but will end up hurting them also a little bit. I think. But yeah,
I mean, they could still get in.
Yeah,
as we said on that live stream, they have losses to Michigan and Ohio State in a 3-week span.
But they did play them really tough. However,
they did, and then Barry Alvarez, he's on the committee. He's a former Wisconsin head coach, and he's the current Wisconsin athletic director. So, he's going to be, trying to turn some heads there in the room whenever these rankings are being put together. And I mean, Wisconsin still has a chance, but it's not that good. They got to win out, and they got to have Ohio State lose, but they can beat Ohio State head to head too. And we talked about that already. So
yeah, but yeah, I got Wisconsin.
All right, ACC, Georgia Tech at North Carolina. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Tar Heels.
I am too.
Right.
Moving on, SEC, Florida at Arkansas.
Second straight week, I'm going to upset. I'm going to go Arkansas at home. I think this is going to kill the Florida Gators' opportunity that they do have.
Yeah, Florida's ranked 11th, and we talked about it on the live stream as well. They don't have that good of an offense. They have a good defense, but the offense got to put up some points. As well. The offense scores 9 times out of 10.
And of course, Arkansas, they're a team that's known a little bit for.
I guess you
upsets.
Could say that.
They've had some bigger upsets in recent memory.
I guess you could say that. And they play tough week in and week out. They're just in the SEC West with Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Texas A&M. And then you have Mississippi State and Ole Miss too. Some people are going to say when all those teams are good, that's probably the best division in football, in college football. So I'm also going to take Arkansas just because Florida doesn't have an offense, and Fayetteville is a tough place to play. So yeah, woo pig. Oklahoma State at Kansas State.
Especially I want to pick Kansas State, but I'm going to go Oklahoma State.
All right, Oklahoma State is coming off that big win against West Virginia last week at home, and they got to go to Manhattan to play AARP and Bill Snyder. I'm going to take the Wildcats. I think Kansas State's going to pull this upset and beat Oklahoma State.
All right.
All right, switching back to the Big Ten now for the next two. Maryland at Michigan, and then Iowa at Penn State. First, Maryland at Michigan. Michigan's third in the college football rankings. College football playoff rankings, excuse me. Had a close one actually last week in East Lansing against the Spartans. Jabril Peppers actually went off. If he's not in New York City come the end of the year for the Heisman, there's something wrong. He already has 10 touchdowns, I think it is, through the first 8 weeks of the season, and Charles Woodson had that many in the full season when he won the Heisman. So Peppers has a couple more weeks to pass that. I believe it's 10 touchdowns. I could be wrong. I think I'm wrong. Don't quote me on that. Last time Maryland came to the Big House, they almost beat the Wolverines. That was when Brady Hoke was the head coach for Michigan, and Randy Edsall was the head coach for Maryland. DJ Durkin is now the head coach for Maryland, a former Michigan defense coordinator last year under Jim Harbaugh. So a little connection there between the two head coaches, but Michigan's just too damn good. They're gonna beat Maryland pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. And then, as I said, another Big Ten game, Iowa at Penn State, 7:30, Big Ten Network, Saturday night in Happy Valley. James Franklin's calling for another whiteout. I don't know if he's going to get it, but this Iowa-Penn State matchup is always real tough. Penn State, surprisingly, ranked 12th in the college football playoff rankings now. I was thinking they'd be about 15th. You can check out that live stream. I went a little out of control talking about the Nittany Lions there yesterday. As I said, Penn State and Iowa, always a good matchup, though. Last time they played was 2012 in Iowa City. Bill O'Brien's first year as head coach, and they beat him pretty bad. And then 2011, Penn State got the win. 2010, Iowa won. 2009, Iowa also got the win. And in 2008. So Iowa had a three-year string there of beating the Nittany Lions. But that was when 2010 Penn State was bad. 2008 Penn State was in the hunt to go to the national championship and play possibly Florida or Oklahoma when Urban Meyer was still at Florida and Tebow was still a quarterback. But then they go to Iowa City and lose on a game-winning field goal. 2009 college game days in State College. Rained all day. I remember I was at the game. Rained all day. And it's bad when Penn State doesn't even allow the blue band to be on the field before the game. That's how bad it was, to play. So they had to play from the stands. And Penn State ended up losing 21-10. But then in 2007, going back, what was that, 9 years now, Penn State got the win. Evan Royster broke out and really his first game, I believe it was his first start because Austin Scott was being charged with rape at the time, former Penn State running back. And then Royster went on and played in the NFL for the Redskins there for a while, no longer playing. But but then Iowa and Penn State, they also played in a 6-4 game back in, I think it was 2003 or 2004, if I'm not mistaken. And then 2002, the game went to overtime, going back 14 years now. But Penn State's always a tough place to play. I really didn't have anything else to say about this game, so that's why I was doing that. Just, see what I have to say. See what I had to say about Penn State on that live stream. Go check it out. But Corey, you obviously know who I'm going to pick.
Yeah.
This game is going to be close, though. Iowa's going to come to fight. Kirk Ferentz, great head coach, actually was a candidate twice to take the Penn State job after Joe Paterno was fired. Don't really want to talk about that. And then after Bill O'Brien had left to go to the Houston Texans in the NFL, because Ferentz is from nearby, in between Pittsburgh and Johnstown, I believe it is. So really respect what he's doing as well out in Iowa City. He's been there. He's actually the first or second longest tenured coach in college football. In college football right now, either right ahead Bob Stoops or right behind. One of them was hired one day ahead of the other in 1999. So really like what Kirk Ferentz is doing with the Hawkeyes, but you know where my heart's going with this. So Penn State.
Yeah, if this game was in Iowa, probably I would lean more towards Iowa actually in a slight advantage.
Iowa City, Kinnick Stadium's tough, real tough place to play. Real tough place to play.
Seeing that it's in Happy Valley, Beaver Stadium, I'm gonna have to go with the Nittany Lions in this one.
Surprisingly, for the first time all year.
Surprisingly, well, I mean, the first two times we did it was because they played Michigan and Ohio State.
That's true. Tough games.
So
games.
I mean,
1-1 on.
They're not in the position they are now, of course. They weren't in that position when they.
No,
won those games.
a lot has changed. Since week 4 for Penn State, and especially for college football as well.
Yeah,
and it just shows you how much things can change in a matter of time like that. So, and as I said, that's why they play the games, because games aren't decided on paper.
Yeah, but I think Beaver Stadium is rocking, and they get a big win that will help them in their quest to possibly make that college football playoff.
First night game in November at Beaver Stadium as well. Big Ten is starting. This is actually the first year they're going to have night games in November. So don't be surprised if that Michigan-Ohio State game at the end of the year is at 8 o'clock on ABC, because both those teams are probably going to be in the top 5, top 4. Moving on now, 8 o'clock game on CBS. This is where game day's at. They're down in Baton Rouge for Alabama LSU. I really want to pick LSU.
I do too.
Because they're playing at home. Death Valley is a tough place to play at night. I don't know what the win-loss record is, but I know it's pretty damn good in favor of the Tigers. So, as I said, I really want to pick LSU, but I have to take Alabama. They were off last week. Nick Saban is phenomenal. No pun intended for AJ Styles. He is phenomenal after bye weeks when he's been at Alabama. Nick Saban is also a former head coach at LSU, so he knows what LSU brings. He knows how tough it is, to play there at night, being the head coach for them or on the opposing sidelines. So, as I said, I really want to pick LSU, and I know you do too. But I have to take Alabama. So roll Tide.
Yes, I mean LSU's gotten their act together here lately.
They have. They haven't lost since they fired Les Miles.
Fournette's looking good, of course, keeping his name in
and
the conversation.
Yes, for the Heisman. Last year, going back to this game last year in Tuscaloosa, this is when Derrick Henry won the Heisman. He had a 10 times better game than Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette had, I think, 19 carries for 36 yards in that game, which is awful.
I mean, that just speaks to the Alabama defense, though.
Exactly. Exactly. It just shows you what Saban can do. And a lot of those guys are in the NFL.
Yeah.
But, it just shows you what Saban can do. Bring in new guys and then plug them in.
Exactly. I mean that's what comes when you're a successful program like Alabama. You get all these top recruits that you can just plug in.
Hell, they won national championship 2009, 2011, and 2015. So 3 in the past 7 years. Yeah, 3 in the past 7 years.
But yeah, Alabama, especially when you look at the things they did to teams that were ranked really highly this season. Of course, Tennessee isn't now, but they crushed Tennessee. They crushed A&M.
Yeah, Tennessee's lost 3 straight.
They've crushed both of those teams that are serious contenders, or were at the time. A&M still is, of course.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Which is the reason why A&M is still ranked so high. But Alabama's just too damn good, man.
Yeah.
I've said it multiple times when we picked Alabama games.
Yeah. Roll Tide. This game will be close, though.
It should be.
I think it's going to be a lot like the 2011 game that went to overtime, with a final score of 9-6. And I think special teams is going to win this game for Alabama. But we'll have to find out and see come Saturday night. I'm obviously not going to be watching that game. Penn State's on at 7:30, so I'll have that up on my TV, and then I'll have this next game that's on ABC, Nebraska at Ohio State, up on my laptop, watching that off to the side. Ohio State's ranked 6th, Nebraska's ranked 10th. As I said on the live stream, Ohio State should be ranked a little higher than what they are, and Nebraska should stay at 10 right where they are. But Ohio State, they turned the page after the Penn State loss 2 weeks ago. Did what they had to do last week to Northwestern, and they beat them by 4. But they're still having trouble on the offensive line. They cannot run the football, and that is why they're not as effective as they were the first half of the season. Nebraska is going to be poised for a win, though. going into another tough environment as they did last week up in Camp Randall. They're going on the Horseshoe now this week. I'd really like to see Nebraska, win this game, especially, for Penn State, because Ohio State still has to lose. And then Michigan has to lose twice. So I really like to pick Nebraska, but, Ohio State, they're just too good at home. And I think Ohio State pulls this one out in the end. I think it's going to come down to the last minute of the game. I think defense will win this game for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I think that too. Nice close game here. Tough break for Nebraska having to play Wisconsin and Ohio State back to back on the road.
On the road, yeah.
Got to play.
That's
two.
like Ohio State going to Wisconsin and then Penn State.
Yeah,
a
little bit. Yeah.
All these stadiums, that represent these schools are tough places to play. Penn State, Beaver Stadium, Ohio State, and the Horseshoe, Michigan, and the Big House, Wisconsin at Camp Randall, and then Nebraska and Lincoln. You know what I mean? So, 5. I counted Michigan in there. So, go on.
But yeah, Ohio State just a little bit better than Nebraska. Nebraska, it's gonna depend on if Nebraska comes out firing after a loss like last week to Wisconsin, or like
and they had them. Nebraska had Wisconsin where they wanted them
because
and they couldn't
missed the extra point in overtime, which is not an NFL extra point.
No,
the 19-yard variety of extra point.
Yeah.
Right up to the field goal, and he missed it straight up. And he missed field goal to win it at the end too. Wisconsin. Don't know his name, sorry, but he's the backup though.
Yeah, he's a backup. They changed kickers halfway through the year,
so but
just
still,
like they did quarterbacks, and that's why they're in contention right now.
Yeah,
that 2 quarterback play.
That 2, yeah, had to switch quarterbacks late. Anyway, yeah, Ohio State a little bit better. They are good at home. Definitely a close game though.
All right, and then last but not least, a Pac-12 game Saturday night, 10:30 ESPN. Washington goes to Cal. Cal's 4-4 right now. They started out strong and they've been losing some. And I think Cal's poised for a big win. And they're playing at home. Washington's coming off that big win. People were saying against Utah last week on the road. And also, Cal fans are handing out bobbleheads of Marshawn Lynch driving around on the golf cart that he did about 10 years ago. So I'm taking Cal over Washington. I'm picking against Washington for the second straight week.
All right.
And as I said on the live stream, Washington does not deserve to be ranked in the top 5. I don't think they should have been 4. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish 8-4 or 9-3. They got a tough schedule remaining.
Yeah, to play the brunt of the Pac-12.
Yes.
Yet, and Cal's the first step in that. Well, not the brunt, of course. They already beat Utah. If you want to count last week, they are getting into it. Yes, because they got to play Cal and stuff. I can see where you're coming from. Cal is. They go. They're a team that can hang with teams like this.
Yeah.
They're a team that I can feel they've lost a lot of close games.
They have.
And that seems like kind of a characteristic of the Pac-12. All these teams are similar in record for the most part.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's just a few points here or there, and who knows? Some of these teams could be in the same position Washington could be. For crying out loud. I mean, granted, Stanford, of course, we talked about them a little bit when talking about Washington, of course, in the live stream.
Yeah.
Because, of course, that's one of their big wins at the time. Of course, because then Stanford went to lose 3 of the next 4, including that one. That is,
they lost to Colorado too, who's
up
there. So
that was the 4th one, and then they won this past week. But I'm gonna go Washington though. I'm gonna keep Washington's hopes alive. I kind of want to see Washington in it. To be honest with you, I want to see the Pac-12 representation. I guess.
All right.
I'm kind of against the more than one team from a conference kind of thing.
Like 2 from the Big Ten or 2 from the SEC or 2 from the
I want to
ACC.
see 4 from 4 different conferences.
All right. And that's
Yeah,
it.
that's it, yeah.
That's it for college football.
That is
So
it
I'll
for college
throw
football.
it over to you now for
Yeah, the NFL.
for the NFL.
NFL this week, and you already said it. There's a tie in the NFL this week.
Again.
Another tie.
Again.
The
For the second straight week.
second straight week. Bengals tied with the Redskins in London. Also, first overtime game in the London game.
Yeah.
First tie game in the London game, obviously, as well.
And as I said, too, back in 1997, whenever there was...
Yeah, you brought this up.
Whenever there was 2 ties in the NFL season, the Indians lost the World Series in 7. Well, Game 7 was last night. Tonight, we'll have more on that next week.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, well, I shouldn't say quite frankly, the Redskins are a part of both of those games. They were, they played the Giants in Week 13 in 1997 and tied at 7. And then they tied the Bengals. That's just a little weird if you ask me. They tied the Bengals now, and then, the Indians, World Series, Game 7. It all comes together, somehow. And then also in 1997, the Eagles and Ravens tied at 10 in Week 12. Also, they were also in back-to-back weeks. So that's a little more weird, scary if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this week...
Another tie.
Another tie.
We'll get more here in a second.
Yeah. Biggest upset, I put in the Saints over the Seahawks. Especially the last drive, I didn't expect the Saints to make a defensive stand and win that game because they seem to not do that a lot. Also, Bears over Vikings. I don't think anyone thought the Bears were going to beat the Vikings on Monday night, except for Bears fans.
Yeah, really. I had Bears over Vikings as well. And now Norv Turner, the OC, has resigned from his duties with the Minnesota Vikings. So Pat Shurmur has been promoted to that role. Haven't seen or heard what Andrew Janoko's role will be. If it will be the same, or if he will be getting promoted to something else. He's a native of Clearfield here. But everyone's going to ask what the hell's wrong with Minnesota.
But looking like the Falcons from last year. Started 5-0,
They are.
lost.
Other than it being cold during the winter in Minnesota, they started 5-0 as you said, but they've lost 2 straight. They've only been averaging 10 points a game in both those losses, and that's not going to cut it. And it's the offense, and then Norv Turner has resigned, and it's the offensive line I think got to change. Because did you see Sam Bradford on Monday night? He looked like a deer in headlights, for God's sake. The protection was awful. They couldn't run the ball. Hell, they don't have Adrian Peterson, but they should still be able to run the football some with, their backups and McKinnon and Asiata. But then obviously the defense does do a better job as well. And, put up, stop the opposing team from scoring more points than what the offense puts up. And as I said, the offense is supposed to score 9 times out of 10. Obviously, you'll get an interception return for a touchdown or fumble recovery for a touchdown. So long story short, Minnesota, they just have to play better in all 3 aspects of the game. That being offense, defense, and special teams. So I don't think you really need to worry right now, but they could turn into the Falcons, as you said, from last year.
Yeah. Speaking of the Falcons, I have them as best game.
Yeah,
you featured them last week in the best game as well.
The Chargers. I forgot about that.
But they beat the Packers this week on a game-winning touchdown in that game. Also, I put the Cowboys over the Eagles because overtime game on Sunday Night Football. Pretty exciting. Gives them the stranglehold on the division as well.
Yes, it does.
You already said you already had the Falcons in the Packers, I guess.
Falcons is best game. They won by 1.
Yeah. Impressed this week.
Sanu scored that game-winning touchdown.
Impressed for me this week. I got the Raiders, and you brought something up before we started here that actually makes me want to say the Raiders as a team in general. I had just Derek Carr because he threw for 513 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. That's impressive in its own right. But you mentioned how they had 23 penalties, and you reminded me of that, and they still won the game.
Yeah, in overtime. That game almost ended in a tie as well. Derek Carr threw the game-winning touchdown with about a minute 30 left in overtime.
Dang.
So
Wouldn't that be kooky? 2 ties in the same week.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
I'd really like to see.
that's when you have to like
some
evaluate
history about that.
Then you have to really evaluate the overtime rules again.
Yeah, what do you think about the overtime rules?
Didn't we get into it a little bit last week?
Somewhat, maybe.
We did a little bit last week. I know we talked about it a little bit, how the new rules kind of allow for more ties almost.
Yeah.
The opportunity, because, like, of course, the team comes down, first possession, kicks field goal, the other team has another chance.
Mm-hmm.
And say that field goal drive is a 7-minute drive, you only have 7 minutes,
Yep.
like 8 minutes left to get your own field goal drive. But then if you make a field goal, then you got to drive again, so... Granted,
I mean,
most of these games are...
I understand trying to make it fair, but really...
But at the same time...
If they have to go back to sudden death, whoever scores first wins, maybe that's what they should do.
I feel like sudden death almost made it more exciting because it's like, who's going to score first,
Well, it comes down to coin toss.
Yeah.
That
was the problem then, because then, like... Well, it seemed like most of the time, whoever won the coin toss received always won for the most part.
Yeah.
That's why they kind of did that. But at the same time, it's like, you got to go out there and play defense if you're the other team. Mm-hmm. So... But either way.
Yeah, impressed. I agree with the Raiders. Team and league record. 23 penalties in a game.
Yeah.
And then the Saints, they picked up a key win against Seattle at home. And it came down to the last play. And he almost made that catch.
Yeah, just a little too far.
Yeah, a little too far out of the end zone. He almost made that catch. He drug his foot, but it was right on the white.
Yeah. Also talking about the Raiders, put themselves right there at the top of the AFC West.
And they played
with a big showdown with Denver this week.
On Sunday Night Football.
Sunday night. So,
first time Sunday Night Football's been there in quite some time.
Yeah. And then isn't like the next week they play in Mexico against the Texans?
They play on the 21st.
Oh, the 21st. 21st.
So
I thought it was
11th. Be about another 2 weeks.
I thought it was
2 weeks after.
2 weeks. All right. I was just thinking that because...
And that's going to be a game on Monday night.
Should the Texans...
Raiders and Texans.
If the Texans play well...
And of all places, it's in Mexico City. Come on, NFL. I mean, I understand, you don't know how these teams are going to be, come that time, but maybe you should have scheduled someone else, because, but everybody's going to be everybody's going to be tuning in because both the teams are good. First game in Mexico City. And it's on ESPN. They're going to try to get the ratings to, go through the roof.
I get what you're saying by that. It's like, because what happens if these two teams weren't doing so well?
Exactly. That's my
These are two teams that aren't guaranteed to do well. Like you're saying, try to put two teams that are more than likely going to be good.
Yeah, like the Redskins Bengals game in London. That's a good London game. You don't want to have, Steelers Ravens or Patriots Colts or Seahawks Cardinals in London or Mexico City. It just doesn't make any sense. You want to have two, crap bottom teams in the NFL play, out of the country. That's what I'm trying to say.
Disappointed. I already said it. Tie for the second straight week.
I had kickers who have missed a field goal in the past 2 weeks. I'm not saying kickers who've missed a field goal 10 years ago. In the past 2 weeks, if your kicker has missed a field goal, or you are a kicker who has missed a field goal, at any level, I don't care if it's Pee-wee football, for God's sakes, you should be making these, And I understand why the NFL changed the field goal rule a couple years ago. It's to make it a little bit more challenging, with talking about the extra points.
Yeah.
It's at the 33-yard line now. But come on, man, really? You're playing the NFL for crying out loud. You can't even do what you're asked to do. And I can understand sometimes if the snap is bad or when the holder holds the ball with the laces facing towards you, it's a little harder to kick it, but come on. It just, come on, man, really? This is what you're paid to do. You're on the team for a reason. And this is why we've seen 2 ties in consecutive weeks in the NFL. And as we said, it's the first time since 97. Week 12 and 97, the Eagles and Ravens at 10 apiece, and then week 13, the Giants and Redskins at 7 apiece, as I said a little bit ago. And as I said, it's pretty funny, the Redskins played both those games, 19 years apart. And then also, the Bengals. The Bengals were part of a tie game this past weekend. And then also in 2008 and 2014. Against the Eagles and the Bengals and other Redskins. And then, as I said last week, Ties in recent years, past 15 years, Falcons, Steelers, Eagles, Bengals, as I just said, Rams, 49ers, Vikings, Panthers, Panthers, Bengals, as I just said, and then Seahawks, Cardinals last week, and then Redskins, Bengals. And now the Panthers are bringing up the rear there and tie games with 2 apiece. And then we already said Indians in the World Series in '97, they lost in 7 games. They're in the World Series again this year. Game 7's tonight, last night. A little more on that next week. And now there's 2 ties in the NFL this year again. So, what's that saying? It's saying the Cubs should win their first World Series since 1908. All right. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because we already talked
we went to our
it a
picks
lot.
this week. Last week I went 4-4-1.
I went 2-6-1.
Official score. What are they?
I'm 37, 33, and 2 on the year,
right.
And you are 40. You're 39, 31, and 2 on the year.
All right. So that's what it stands at. Finally, one of us. We were tied for the longest time.
Yeah, you
someone
passed me this past week in all 4.
I was already ahead in college in
all
FBS.
4 categories.
I was already ahead of you in FBS.
Yeah.
But we were tied in FCS. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, Thursday night, Falcons
ya.
at Bucks. I'm going to go with the Falcons. Big win last week. I think they continue that momentum. Likely, at least at this juncture, NFC South champions at the moment.
Well, that's the reason why I'm going to take the Buccaneers in this game. I think they have too much. I think the Falcons have too much momentum moving forward, and I think they
might get complacent.
I think they lose a close one. I think Roberto Aguayo probably kicks a game-winning field goal or something like that.
I can see it being close. It'd be good for a Thursday night game.
Yeah, it would be.
One.
Last week it was actually a close game. In the end,
yeah,
Jacksonville started
it's just
coming
2
back,
teams
but
that aren't people don't really want to watch. I don't think.
No.
I mean, especially last year, perennial crap teams.
Yeah.
Hell, the Titans had the number 1 pick, traded away, of course, but they were the number 1 pick.
Yep.
They were the worst team in football. Next rivalry game, Steelers at Ravens. Big Ben's reportedly maybe being a backup this week, possibly.
I've heard he's
Who
going to
knows?
play. So
Yeah, he might
we'll
play
see.
even. I heard he might play. He might dress as a backup. He might still play if he dresses as a backup, of course.
Well, it's going to depend on how Landry plays.
But I don't think we don't have to worry about picks on this one. I'm going Ravens. You're going Steelers.
Yeah, it's going to be a slugfest. This game's
always is.
always real tight, close. These 2 teams hate each other. And, yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh. You're going Baltimore.
Yep. Another rivalry game, Eagles at Giants. I'm going to go Eagles to bounce back after losing to the Cowboys.
I think
as
well.
They're better than the Giants, in my opinion. The one problem I have with the Eagles right now is that running back situation. I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, they need a number 1 back.
Ryan Matthews is not working right now.
They can't have a committee.
They have two or 3, even maybe 4. I have no idea how many running backs they're working with.
They have Matthews,
Sproles,
and Wendell Smallwood.
Wendell Smallwood. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's a big reason. Well, it's not a big reason why they lost. Obviously, because they were winning by freaking 14 against the Cowboys.
Yeah, and Dallas came back and beat them in overtime.
Yeah, but still, Eagles are better than the Giants, I think.
As I said, I'm going to take the Eagles as well. I think
that.
they'll bounce back after last week.
All right. Lions versus the Vikings in what is a pretty big matchup for positioning in the NFC North, because the Lions are at 500, the Vikings are kind of
5-2
sloping or going downhill. The Packers aren't. They're just a game above 500 at 4-3 or something, 4-3 or it would be 4-3, 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They're 4-3. They're
Yeah,
Lions are right there.
Bye week, yeah.
Lions are right there, showing something this year, despite not having Calvin Johnson after he retired. I thought they would be doomed this season, but 500 right now, looking all right. Stafford's really stepping up this season. I'm gonna go the Vikings though. They really need this win. They need to come out and play with some desperation, I think, and at home as well. I mean, that always gives you a little bit of points in my book, but.
Yeah, as you said about Matthew Stafford, as I said last week, I couldn't remember what record it was. He has thrown the most yards in NFL history for a quarterback before the age of 30, is what it is. So
the problem is they always lose.
Exactly. That's why.
So he's always throwing.
But I think Minnesota's also going to bounce back. I mean, I understand with Norv Turner resigning, it's putting a little dark cloud over Minnesota right now. But Shermer's been on the staff all season, so nothing should be changing.
Yeah.
They should
They can't afford to lose this game, though.
Move right on. I mean, if they do, they do.
Yeah.
There's
but then it's just
there's nothing
blow.
They can do about it. Then
Yeah.
they had their chance, but
then it's just another blow.
Exactly, they're 5-3 then, and
it's just gonna start even farther downhill or bigger decline.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, like the Falcons last season. So you're taking Vikings as well.
Yeah, I'm taking Minnesota because they're playing at home.
All right. And what should be a good game? Titans versus the Chargers. I mean, on paper, you look at these two teams, maybe not. Titans are contending in the AFC South, right there at 500 as well. Chargers, they're a team that seems to play in pretty close games, pretty good games for the most part, despite losing most of them still. Yeah. But I mean, that's the reason why I'm taking the Titans in this game.
Well, I think this game is going to come down to the last probably 2 minutes of the game,
as with any Chargers games this season.
Yes, my point. So, but I think San Diego will pull it out.
All right.
Playing at home, Melvin Gordon's been running the ball real well lately.
He has.
He had a tough rookie year. He got hurt or some. And San Diego just wasn't that good. Now they're playing their best football in the past couple years, as far as I can recall. San Diego over Tennessee. Tennessee's running the ball real well though too, with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, and then Mariota quarterback. Titans are looking like a team to be reckoned with. If they can get, say, another wide receiver or somebody else on that offensive line, or even on that defensive side of the ball, the Titans might be going back to when they were good, when Jeff Fisher was there as a head coach, Eddie George running the ball, and Steve McNair airing it out. So I'd like to take Tennessee, but San Diego, I think they're just notch better right
now. Yeah, Tennessee definitely not looking like that worst team in the NFL from last season.
No, not for any means. The Browns still are, though.
Yeah,
the Browns still are. And I feel bad for Jamie Collins. He asked for Von Miller money, and he's going to be free agent this upcoming off season, and the Patriots were smart. They actually got something in return rather than just letting him walk.
The Browns draft pick
right before the trade deadline this past Tuesday. I understand, yeah, it's a Browns draft pick, but it's in the middle rounds. Look at Dak Prescott this past year. He's drafted in the 4th round. Look what he's turned out to be. So
yeah.
The middle rounds of the draft is when a team can make it or break it.
Hell, even superstar Tom Brady,
6th round, 199th pick back in 99. So, it's Browns draft pick, but Jamie Collins, he'll be all right. He'll be starting for Cleveland this week. But yeah, the Browns are still looking like that horrible team as they've been for the past. How many years? I don't even know. Yeah, exactly.
Like.
Forever. Yeah. Next game.
Your game of the week this week is Colts taking on the Packers.
You think it's it's the game of the week for the 425 slot.
It is
on CBS, but I don't think it's the game.
It's technically the game of the week, is what I mean.
I agree. Yeah, I understand that, but I don't think
it's what it's going to be called. I mean, it's the prime time of the Sunday afternoon game,
on CBS. Prime time. But
so
we'll see.
It is, but Colts Packers. I got the Packers in this one at home. Tough loss last week to the Falcons. Going back home, taking on the Colts, who don't have the best defense in the world. Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to air it out. They're going to have a good game on the offensive end. Beat the Colts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Indy's not looking that good. What are they? 3-5 now?
Something like that.
And I believe they're 3-5. They just, Andrew Luck's healthy. Why aren't they winning?
No offensive line, can't run the ball too well, and lack of a defense. Quarterback can only do so much.
Exactly.
It's the most important position on the field, but You need guys around him.
Yeah, so, Green Bay, they're playing at home.
Just another reason to pick them in this game, Game we already mentioned, and I think it's the game of the week.
This is what I was referring to. This is the game of the week.
With the implications of it as well, Broncos taking on the Raiders in Oakland. Raiders right there at, what is it? Are they 6-2 or 5-2? 6-2.
Both teams are 6-2.
Both teams are 6-2. Battle for the AFC West at the moment.
For the lead,
yeah.
They'll still play each other.
Play each other
in the
again,
coming
of
weeks.
course. But I'm gonna go with the Raiders in this one.
I am as well. Just win, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Raiders in this one. Looking good last week. Looking good the last couple weeks. They have a win streak going on.
I gotta
Broncos
keep picking them. I have them in the playoffs. So
Broncos. C.J. Anderson's out for the year. Not gonna be able to run the ball as effectively as they had. Trevor Siemian doesn't look like a guy that can win a game for you without some help running the ball. He's not a guy that's going to win the game for you through the air or whatever. He's more of a manager of the game, and I see that with his stats and whatnot. They don't like to air it out. It's going to depend on if the Raiders' offense can get through the Broncos' defense in the end, I think. It's going to come down to that because the Broncos' offense is not the best, in my opinion, especially now with no C.J. Anderson.
I'm going to take the Raiders. Just win, baby. The Black Hole's going to be fired up. It's a Sunday night game in Oakland during the regular season for the first time in I don't know how long. And they're off to the best start in 15 years.
Right.
Oakland over Denver.
All right, Monday night sees two teams that coming off of losses last week as the Bills travel to Seattle to play the Seahawks. And I'm going with the Seahawks at home, coming off a tough loss last week. Close game to the Saints. It's Seattle. It's the probably, along with Arrowhead Stadium, the toughest place to play in the NFL.
Yeah, we've talked.
The Bills are going to have a hard time dealing with that. And the 12th man will be in full force.
Exactly. That's why I'm going to take Seattle, 12th man in full force, as you said. And then the Bills, they did sign Percy Harvin out of retirement, and Percy Harvin played for both of these teams. He started with Seattle. Actually started with Minnesota, and then he went to Seattle. And then he went to the Jets, and then he went to Buffalo. But anyways, I don't think he's going to be a factor in this game. He just got re-signed out of retirement. There's no way in hell he's going to learn a new playbook. I understand he's played for Rex Ryan in both New York with the Jets and in Buffalo with the Bills, but, who knows, last time he, made some catches, actually practice for football other than just working out. That's different. Seattle, past 2 weeks, they tied and they lost. They need a win. So Seattle over Buffalo.
Yeah. That wraps it up for the NFL.
Yeah.
And we'll get into our question of the week now. A recent report has come out that said, a survey rather, that 71% of NFL players are for the legalization of marijuana in the NFL to be used as a painkiller, basically, to reduce the pain that they have by playing the game. And 22%, I think it was, have said that they've seen or witnessed to or something of guys smoking weed before a game. It's an interesting thing because, I'll get into I guess we'll give it the question first before we try to explain any of this in my own words. So should the NFL allow marijuana to be used by the players?
Well,
you want me to go first?
Keep on going.
I think why not? A big argument for it. It'll be in place of a painkiller. No more it'll reduce the amount of painkillers that they have to take. Marijuana is not exactly an addictive drug per se. It's not as addictive as painkillers could be. Guys can get hooked on painkillers and stuff, of course. The only problem with marijuana is maybe someone's high during a game and can't play up to his fullest. That's probably the biggest problem with it. But I think it would be just fine. States are legalizing it for recreational use now. Why shouldn't the NFL? Kind of.
I can agree with that. The only thing I would say different would be it stays in the locker room. It stays in the facility.
We're not saying
in hands
Yeah.
of a team official.
Yeah.
And they can only take it after the game if they have an injury. You cannot take it if you are not hurt or before a game, because as you said,
guys need it for the wear and tear of the game, though.
Well, possibly. I mean, this is the first I've heard of it, so I can agree with you on what you had said. Do I think they'll pass it? No.
I don't think either. But I'm saying, why not?
But
I don't think it
who
can
knows?
really hurt anything.
Who knows?
I don't think it can really hurt that much. I don't think. I mean, you got guys left and right who we see getting suspended for doing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, outside of the confines of the NFL, so, I mean, it's not really gonna change anything. I mean, it'll help, I think, honestly, in a little bit. It's just the problem. You kind of alluded to it. The problem is, like, what happens if guys start using it just to use it instead of
that's why I was saying that, can lead to that.
Yeah, but I'm not saying let them be able to do it outside of the stadium.
I mean, I'm sure
on the field
I'm
when
sure
they're playing.
What did you say? 71%.
71% say that they're in favor for it.
Well, I'm gonna say probably more than that, maybe a little less though. Actually, smoke it in real life, throughout the week. And as you said, 22% have witnessed somebody doing it before a game
or something like that.
So, I mean, I'm not really surprised, but who knows what's going to happen.
It's not the worst drug in the world,
Yeah.
Cigarettes and alcohol are legal.
Yeah.
So, why not? That's on a more grand scale, however, though. Of course, the NFL doesn't allow you to swig a beer back on the bench or something just because, or smoke a cigarette or something.
It's not the 1960s
Yeah.
or 70s. It's 2016.
Yeah.
Things have changed. The world has changed.
This could be another step into it. Kind of a weird step.
It could be,
but,
yeah.
A weird step.
Yeah, I agree with you on
legalizing marijuana, but
yeah.
Either way. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for this week on Across the Goal Line.
Sounds good to me.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ATGL16. All of those links available in the description of this video. Answer the question of the week on Facebook or Twitter by voting in our poll. You can follow Luke at CoolAndLuke96 and me at CAMains14 on Twitter as well.
And go watch that live stream we did from yesterday.
Yeah. Also, don't forget to buy our merch, which you can contact us about using all those social media platforms or emailing us at acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com. And for Luke Goddard, I'm Corey Mains, and we will see you on the next edition of Across the Goal Line, live from the field.